Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. My name is Steve Boese. Sick days and state lines, the battle over paid leave in America. Today we're diving into a high-stakes clash over paid sick leave, especially what's unfolding in Missouri, where voters passed a statewide measure only to have it swiftly repealed by legislators. Let's break it down. In the United States today, the landscape for paid sick leave is, to put it mildly, a patchwork. And depending on where your business operates, the rules can look very different. Unlike nearly every other advanced economy in the world, the United States still has no federal requirements that employers offer paid sick leave days to their workers. In fact, according to the World Policy Analysis Center, the U.S. is one of the only high-income countries that does not guarantee workers the legal right to earn paid time off when they're ill. Countries across Europe, Canada, Australia, and even emerging economies have long considered paid sick leave to be a public health standard, one that protects workers, their families, and even their employers by reducing the spread of illness in the workplace. But in the U.S., that decision has been left up to the individual states and sometimes cities. At the state level, things have been moving, and in many places moving forward. Over the past decade, a growing number of states have enacted laws that require employers to provide paid sick leave. Today, 15 states and Washington, D.C. have some form of mandated paid sick leave time, with varying accrual rates and coverage thresholds. States like California, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts were among the early adopters, setting a precedent for worker protections that others have followed. More recently, Colorado and New Mexico have joined the list, signaling broader acceptance of paid sick leave mandates outside of the coasts. One of the most powerful signals of public support for paid sick leave has come through the ballot box. In several states, voters themselves have passed measures requiring employers to provide this benefit. In 2016, Arizona voters approved a statewide paid sick leave law through Proposition 206. In Michigan, a 2018 ballot initiative led to legislation guaranteeing paid sick leave for most workers. And even in traditionally conservative states like Missouri, voters in cities like St. Louis and Kansas City supported local ordinances that mandated paid sick leave, showing that when put directly to the people, the idea of giving workers time to recover from illness without risking their paycheck is broadly popular. But voter will is proving to be something that some politicians and business lobbying groups feel comfortable with ignoring. So let's talk more about Missouri. On November 5th, 2024, Missouri voters passed Proposition A by a margin of nearly 58%, creating both a minimum wage hike and a statewide paid sick leave mandate. Employees would accrue 1 hour of paid sick time for every 30 hours worked, up to 5 to 7 days a year, depending on the employer size. The Missouri Supreme Court upheld Proposition A in April 2025, rejecting legal challenges, and the law went live on May 1st, 2025. Just months later, the Republican-controlled legislature took action, and in mid-May, they passed House Bill 567, expressly repealing the paid sick leave provisions and halting future minimum wage increases tied to inflation. And then on July 10th, 2025, Missouri Governor Mike Keogh signed the repeal into law and will take effect on August 28th. In a statement, Keogh and the Missouri Chamber of Commerce framed it as relieving businesses of burdensome mandates, although critics say it tramples over voter will. Richard Von Gahn from the Missouri Jobs with Justice group called it an absolute betrayal to those families. So why would lawmakers cancel something voters approved by a solid margin? In Missouri's case, business lobbying, especially from the Chamber of Commerce, argued mandated sick leave hurt small businesses, and legislators claimed it was a heavy administrative and financial burden. The overall result of the Missouri experience so far? Even when voters clearly support paid sick leave, state legislatures can and do override them with support from big business. So where does that leave us? Without a federal standard, the U.S. will likely continue down a fragmented path where a worker's access to paid sick leave depends more on their zip code than their job. And that creates inequity, not just for workers, but also for small businesses trying to navigate conflicting local and state laws. There have been attempts at federal legislation, most notably during the COVID-19 pandemic, when temporary paid sick leave was included in some emergency relief laws. Those provisions were short-lived, and so far Congress has failed to reach consensus on making any of them permanent. Looking ahead, we could see more states continue to adopt paid sick leave laws, especially through ballot initiatives where public support seems to be high. But without movement at the federal level, the U.S. will likely remain an outlier on the world stage. And whether that changes may depend on how issues like public health, youth well-being, and economic resilience play out in future elections and legislative sessions. That's it for the Workplace Minute today. Thanks so much for listening, and a big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the show. If you find this helpful, please subscribe and share it with your colleagues. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 HR Advisors.